Did you know that Palos Verdes was once one of the locations studied for UCLA's campus? But UCLA wasn't the only college planned for Palos Verdes. We'll find out more about the history of the colleges in Palos Verdes today on PCZ TV. PCZ TV. We'll also take a driving tour, but the detailed driving tour is a bit later in the video. Feel free to jump to it if that's what you're interested in. But now, back to our regularly scheduled program and history. The first college, almost, a section of 1,000 acres, was originally set aside by the planners of the Palos Verdes project for a university campus in 1921. A proposal was made for the relocation of the southern branch of the University of California, which, as we know, later became UCLA. It was then located on Vermont Avenue in LA, which is now, ironically, home to the Los Angeles City College since 1929. Well, the proposed site was in the center of the Palos Verdes Peninsula. After considering this location along with 17 other sites, UCLA obviously chose Westwood and held classes there on the campus starting in 1929. We'll talk more about UCLA later, but the first institute of higher learning that actually made it here in Palos Verdes was the Palos Verdes College in 1947. This was a 2-year co-ed liberal arts college that occupied former Army buildings. Located along Crest Road, the campus consisted of 2 women's dormitories, a men's dormitory, a classroom, a rec building, a kitchen, a dining room, a library, an office building, and colleges for the president and faculty families. However, the Korean War broke out. Enrollment dropped to 55 students, causing major financial drain. So in the spring of 1954, an announcement was made that a full 4-year program would begin in the fall, and new instructors were hired. However, it was not to be. By the summer of 1955, college president John Howard announced the closing of the college. And in September of 1955, the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District purchased the property for one of its school sites. Next up is Marymount College. The college was established in 1932 by the Religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary. So that's a long term. On Sunset Boulevard in Westwood. It wasn't until 1960 that a new campus was started on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. This first campus location was located just off Hawthorne Boulevard. In 1975, Marymount College moved its site to the other side of the peninsula. Now, liberal arts colleges are struggling, and Marymount was no exception. And like the Palos Verdes College that preceded it, Marymount would close. But instead of selling it to the city, a blast from the past would return, and UCLA would purchase the property in 2023. So after about 100 years or so, UCLA actually came back to Palos Verdes. UCLA, however, not terribly imaginative, because they could have called it UCPV, but no, they just went with UCLA South Bay.
Hey, don't be mean. We don't have to be mean. Because remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
The third college on the hill was almost a Cal State. In 1963, Great Lake Property Incorporated had planned to sell around 107 acres of land near the intersection of Hawthorne and Crest Road for what originally was named South Bay State College, and then renamed California State College at Palos Verdes. Now, the state of California had allocated funds to acquire this land and actually had begun classes for some freshmen and juniors at the Cal Fed Bank on the Peninsula Center in 1965, but it was not to be. The course of the college's future took a dramatic turn following the Watts riots in that same year. and Governor Pat Brown made a crucial decision to relocate the college to Dominguez Hills. And by 1966, the move was finalized and the institution was renamed California State College, Dominguez Hills.
But wait! There's more!
Now to our driving tour. Hopefully I'll be able to drive better than I can talk. So what's left of these locations today? Well, essentially we'll be circumnavigating the hill with a few stops, but barely any walking today. The first stop is the proposed UCLA campus. And this is a huge footprint because it includes the Peninsula High School, the Peninsula Shopping Center, and the Promenade. Wow. So my suggestion is just go to the Promenade and start off with a lovely breakfast at either the Good Stuff restaurant or the Crème de la Crêpe cafe. I mean, who knows? This might have been where the UCPV students would have had their food court in an alternate universe.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Now, as you eat, ponder that roughly in the same area would have been the CalFed building. And as far as I can tell, the building is now long gone, but hey, you might also be eating where the Cal State PV students once studied. But it's back to the car and stop number 2.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
So, popping back on along our timeline, the Palos Verdes College is now a high school in a maintenance yard down a lonely street on top of the hill. Frankly speaking, no need to exit the vehicle as there isn't really anything to see here. Our third stop is where Marymount once began on the hill. And along the way on Crest Road, we'll pass where Cal State would have been, but since it's all now developed homes, no need to stop. Just keep going to our next destination. It's now the home of the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army purchased the original location in 1975 when Marymount moved, and they still have their headquarters here. And by the way, if you're doing this journey, they have donation containers here for charitable drop-offs. It's for a good cause. So think about it. And now we're going to continue our drive around to PV and watch out for the bad section. But UCLA South Bay now occupies the last Marymount College location. As of this video, I'm not sure it's really up and running yet, but I imagine they have a student store and a canteen. Perhaps, but it was all shut down.
And now for something completely different.
So that's our tour of the higher education in Palos Verdes, or is it? Because there were some other sites in the Palos Verdes Peninsula that were then considered for the Cal State. It was almost at the Chandler Gravel Pit, which is now a country club and a nature preserve. It was almost at the county sanitary landfill between Crenshaw and Hawthorne, which is now a botanic garden. And for more history of these locations, watch this video. And by the way, if you're super motivated, feel free to visit Cal State Dominguez Hills. Actually, you can watch their baseball or soccer teams for a fun, low-cost day out. And now that finally completes our collegiate history of the hill. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye!